watching all you singers here. Each face was so dear. Each one in this audience, even though I don't know you all, I see purity and divinity and seeking in you, and I'm so happy to be here. I have to say, as I look back, that I'm very grateful for the life Master has given me. I have devoted, I can say, every ounce of my energy to serving him. And I don't think that I've done anything that has not been in one way or another turned toward that end, and I'm grateful for it. The fear of death is really fear of losing what you've got right now. You don't want to lose it. And I suppose everybody has something of that. I know that even Swami Kriyananda was a liberated being. When it came time for him to die, somebody was talking about his visiting Kirapur. He said, I go to Kirapur no more, and then he calmed down, he was fine. But there was a certain nervousness. You've been used to a certain place, and suddenly you have to leave it. I think the much more important question for us now is, how do we treat that final exam? How do we approach it? It's an important thing to realize that we've all got to go through it. They say that there are two things inescapable, death and taxes, and I say, well, I don't have to pay taxes because I don't have any income. But death, what does it matter? What I want to do when I face death is the feeling that I've finished this life on a high note. I've done what I came to do. I don't have any debts to pay. I think that we should try always to keep our accounts clear. If we owe something to somebody, if I know there was somebody that I hurt when I was a young man, and I pray for that person. I can't go and apologize, but I can pray. I think we ought in that way to cancel out our debts. When we've been dishonest, try to correct it by being extra honest in some way. For example, you cheated somebody, give something away to compensate for that. We've got to overcome our karma, and in one lifetime, very few people will finish all their karma. But we should try to reach the point where we don't really belong to this world. We must realize that our home is in God. We've come from Him, and the goal of life is to know God, to merge back into Him. In the beginning, you reach the point where you've gotten rid of your ego. You no longer think in terms of, I want to defend myself, I am the doer. You realize that He is the actual dreamer of this whole show. And when you can absolutely convince yourself of that point, you know, I've used this illustration, I think, before, of a lake of ice. The whole lake is covered with ice. If you were to try to press on all that ice, you couldn't possibly. Machinery couldn't do it. But if you took a little pick and drilled at one little hole, you could drill a hole at one point and go through into the water underneath. And so if you can drill your own ego, just go through your own ego to the point where you realize that it's only a manifestation of the infinite, then you can come out of your delusion. So the way out of Maya the way out of delusion is to understand that you are the key point to it all. You don't have to worry about other people's delusions. You don't have to worry about the rest of the universe. Where you are, if you really understand yourself, suddenly you've understood everything. And so, when you've reached that point, then you attain the state of nirvikalpa samadhi. There are two samadhis. The first one, you go into that state temporarily, but there's still a little bit of that ego left. It's the sort of I, John Smith, the nevertheless real, am infinite. But he still has this lingering memory of being John Smith. And when he comes out of his meditation, he becomes John Smith again. And from that point, it is possible to fall. Souls have fallen from that state. I have some reason to think that I once fell from that state. And when you do, you have to wander again, again, and again. But finally, you go beyond that point and realize that you are that. Aham Brahmasmi. And when you've attained Nirvikalpa Samadhi, you're free forever. The only thing is then you become a Jivan Mukta. A Jivan Mukta is one who is free in himself, but he still has the burden of memory. He remembers all those past incarnations of ignorance, of I, John Smith, who used to be a bandit, who used to be a merchant, who used to be a banker, who used to be this thing and that thing. And all those memories have to be gone through and released into the infinite. You have to realize that it was God who dreamed all your existences, not just this one. And that may take a long time or a short time, depending on your wishes, really. I asked my Guru one time, can't a person at that point just say, I'm free and be free? And he said, yes, you can. But many people use that freedom, that memory, as an excuse to come back and help other people, to help their disciples to become freed. But when you become completely free, when all those memories even are lost in the infinite, and you, John Smith, realize that it was God who dreamed for a while that he was John Smith, and then became God again. You become one with God. There is no John Smith to go back to. However, and this is a very important point, that memory of having been John Smith in all his different incarnations lingers. So that if anybody prays to you, let us say, you can come back in that form. And this is the essence of an avatar. An avatar is one who is supremely free, who has attained absolute moksha, but he keeps on, he hangs on a little bit to that lingering desire, that desireless desire to help other people. And so those few souls who want to help others are brought back again and again into this world to help others. This was the state of Krishna. This was the state of Jesus. This was the state my Guru attained. It is the state I am trying to attain. And we have to be very grateful to those few people who understood that the goal of life is union with God. Remember that in your own meditation, when you go deep and you feel yourself one with God. Don't say, I feel myself one with God. That's the delusion. You no longer exist in that state. There's no you to say, I am anything. In Nirvikalpa, you know that there's only God, and you have ceased. That's the thrilling thing, and yet it's the thing that most people are very afraid of. They think that if I can hang on to myself, I've got everything. And yet the wonderful thing, as I said to Master, as Master said to me, as I said earlier, you even don't lose your ego, because you still keep that memory of having been all those forms. So that when people pray to you, and you come to them after being liberated, and you come and answer their prayers and give them your blessings, know this, it isn't the infinite God who's come to you in those forms, it's you yourself. Jesus still is a person. Buddha still is a person. Yogananda still is a person. He killed Yogananda. These are things that are very hard to explain. But I'm telling you from what I can say, and I hope you will understand me, because to say that a person is and isn't doesn't make much sense. And yet when you've reached that state, you will be free, and yet you will be able to help many other people. Why do you try to help people with giving them a little money or a little food or a job? Find God. Once you have God, you will be able to give people everything that's worthwhile, the only thing that's worthwhile in the whole universe. God bless you all.